This is a physics problem dealing with average speed, difficulty medium. So we have person A decides to go for an exercise run, okay? So on his route, he maintains a jogging speed of 8 feet per second in the first half of his trip. And in the second half of his trip, he maintains a walking speed of 4 feet per second. Okay? What is his average speed for this trip? Okay? So it doesn't give us distance and it doesn't give us time, okay? The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write down everything that we know. So we have our average velocity for the first half of the trip, our average velocity for the second half of the trip, the distance that he traveled for the first half of the trip, right, is equal to half of his trip, okay? And the distance for the second half is equal to half the distance of the trip, right? Okay? So as you can tell, these two segments are equal to each other, okay? So he covers the same amount of distance in the first half and in the second half, right? Just like the scenario was stated, okay? Then we have our distance equation, okay? Distance equals rate multiplied by time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have our time total, right? Our time total is equal to the duration of time in the first segment plus the duration of time in the second segment. Now we also have time total is equal to the total distance divided by the rate. So we have T1, which is the time for the first segment, is equal to the distance that he traveled in the first segment divided by the speed that he maintained in the first segment. Then we have time for the second segment is equal to the distance that he traveled in the second segment divided by the speed that he maintained in the second segment. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put time total equal to each other. Okay, so now we have, remember, time total is equal to T1 plus T2. Time total is also equal to the total distance divided by the rate. This rate is going to be our average speed that we are solving for. Okay, so we have that there, right? Rewritten R for our average velocity for the whole trip, denoted by the subscript 3. So writing this out, T1 plus T2 is equal to T total. Okay, so writing this with a common denominator, our left-hand side looks like this, okay? Now remember, x1 is equal to x2, right? They're both equal to half of the distance, okay? So that means we can rewrite x1 as x2 or we can rewrite x2 as x1, okay? I chose to rewrite it as x1. Now I can factor out x1, right? So that gives us this, okay? Because remember, these two are equal to each other, okay? So factoring that out gives us this on our left-hand side and this on our right-hand side, okay? This hasn't changed, okay? So substituting our value for x1, which is d over 2, right? So d is a numerator, 2 is a denominator, right? So that goes there, okay? Now we have this, okay? So now we're going to divide by d, okay? And that's going to cancel out. Now rewriting this, we have v1 plus v2, okay, over 2 v1 v2 is equal to 1 over v3, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by v3. So v3 goes here. So v3 goes there. That cancels. We're going to divide by v1 plus v2. Okay? So dividing by v1, v2, that cancels. Okay? Now we're going to multiply by 2 v1, v2, right? So that's going to cancel out, and that's going to come over here to the numerator, okay? And that one's going to go to the denominator. This one's going to come over there. Okay, we're going to play little musical chairs here. Okay, so that gives us our average velocity for the whole trip, right, is equal to this, okay? So now solving it, we have 2 times, for the first part was 8 feet per second. For the second part was 4 feet per second divided by 8 feet per second plus 4 feet per second, okay? So that gives us 32 times 2 is 64 divided by feet squared second squared, right? Because we're going to multiply also the units, okay? And then we have 12 feet per second. This is a multiply, this is add, right? Okay, so then that cancels, that unit cancels, that unit cancels. We have 64 over 12, which is 5, and 4/12, which is 1/3 feet per second, okay? That is his average velocity for the whole trip, okay? Or his average speed for the whole trip, okay? Which makes sense, because if he traveled two distances of equal length at different speeds, obviously he's going to spend more time at the lower speed than he is at the faster speed, right? And our average rate is equal to our total distance divided by the time, okay? So that's how you solve that. Yeah, if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Otherwise, yeah, thank you for watching.